everybody. Amid the craziness of the coronavirus and everything else happening, welcome back to the Basement Binge. It's been a very long time. I'm Harrison.
And I'm Cade. We are down to just two right now. Kelton is currently out of town for this podcast, but that's okay. We're going to cut through the craziness and have some fun here.
Yeah, he's not dead. He doesn't have the coronavirus. He's just out of town. So.
He's out of town. He's on a trip with some of his friends, so he's gone for the weekend. So we will be absent of him, but we will still do our scheduled program.
Yeah, so this week is Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, teaching us the difference between fathers and daddies since 2017. Oh, yeah. Quality movie. So we'll jump into our spoiler wall. And, I'm so sad that Kellen's not here because he likes this movie. But anyway, Cade, would you like to go first with the spoiler wall?
Sure, I'll go first. I'm on the clock. This movie, Guardians of the Galaxy 2. It's a fun movie. There's so many things you can quote within this movie that's just a whole ton of fun that you can throw back and forth between your friends after you've watched it. And there are some super deep feels that I go through, I experience when I watch this movie. Through with Quill or Star-Lord and oh my gosh, I forgot his name, Yondu, and the whole gang. It's a fun movie that is welcoming for everyone. And if you love comedy within a movie, the Guardians of the Galaxy is your squad. And this movie really delivers on that. And it's got action, it's got storyline that's solid. It doesn't have holes, doesn't leave you out of it. So this movie is a solid movie all around that you can watch it on your own while you're stuck at home.
Scared me so much. I forgot it was the quack. I was like, what the heck is that?
Yeah, we changed it last podcast from the normal beeping noise to a quack.
Yeah, I forgot about it. It's just like I was just staring the other way, just like, and then it just anyway.
Gotcha.
Sorry, interrupt you.
But my recommendation is, yes, this is a movie that's a quality movie for a quarantine waste or time spender, I'd say.
Yes, I agree.
And of everything that's going on.
All right. My minute.
You were up.
Okay, so yeah, I agree with Kate. I would definitely recommend this movie, especially during the quarantine. It is a super fun, it's really lighthearted, but there's also a lot of really good emotion in it. That you can talk about with your quarantine partner for a while, but also just some good laughs, have some good emotion, brighten up your dreary day staying inside. Even if you're not a fan of the MCU, I feel like this is just a fun movie to enjoy. I mean, it's bright, it's colorful, it's got good music, got great comedy, like Kate said. It's just an easy movie to enjoy, while also still having that really good emotion to carry you through. Acting is really good. It's just fun. I mean, I was laughing a ton while watching this movie. So yeah, pretty much ditto everything that Kate said. I would recommend this movie. How much time do I have left?
15 seconds.
15 seconds. Let's see. I'm trying to not get spoilers here. If you haven't seen this movie, really pay attention to Rocket. I love the emotion of Rocket. There's a lot that I maybe not necessarily relate to, but I enjoy. So yeah, if you have not seen the movie, go enjoy it. During your quarantine, you'll got plenty of time. Come back, listen to the full episode. We have a giveaway that we're still doing because nobody responded.
Come on, guys. Do you want free stuff? This is how to get it.
Yes, a free movie.
A free movie. Look at this. All right, think about this. You are stuck at home. You don't want to spend money because, money can be tight right now. And here you are stuck at home. This is a movie that we can provide for you that is got no dollar signs on it. Boom, zeros. It's free $99. So we're here to help you not be so bored at home.
Yes, a free movie. So details about the giveaway and also kind of some things we got going on with Audiograph to be detailed in the full podcast. So yeah, go watch the movie, come back. Thanks for listening to The Basement Binge. Everybody else, we're going to continue with our regular scheduled program. Small details about the giveaway. Super quick. Audiograph. Audiograph is a new podcast listening platform that we just started working with. They're pretty exciting what they're doing over there. So if you ever want to be the first to learn about future giveaways or just improve your podcast listening experience by making it more social and gaining a lot more information, go and check out our Audiograph. There's a link in the show notes, of course, but anyone listening, that website is just app.audiograph.io/basementbinge/guardians. So that's app.audiograph.io/basementbinge/guardians. And audiograph is spelled AUDIOGRAPH. So yeah, check out Audiograph. They got a bunch of good great things they're doing over there for the podcast listening and podcasting world to make it a lot more social between us. So we're excited about it. Go check them out. But now the details about the giveaway. So we realized the last time and the 0 responses we got, which like was super heartbreaking. Like
Big sad 0.
Yeah. So we made it too complicated. That was our fault. So we simplify it. Very, very simply, the way to get the free movie is there's going to be a link to a survey in the show notes of this podcast. Go take the survey, respond to it. It takes like 30 seconds to complete the survey.
It's 30 seconds to about a minute of your time to take the survey. So it's super quick and easy. You know, people, they always say the tip that you always hear around the store, where if you want to get something, if you don't want to always forget stuff and you want to do something and that's important, that's meaningful to you, and if it takes less than 2 minutes to do, just do it right then. So this survey is within that time frame, and it's totally doable. It's very easy. It's a fun survey. I've done it before. It's a good one. It's interesting.
Yeah, so take the survey. It's super short. If you take the survey, you will be immediately entered into a drawing that we're going to have to win the movie. If you want to increase your chances, this is not mandatory. It will just increase your odds in the drawing that we'll have. Share the podcast on social media.
Should we have like 10 extra entries or 5?
We'll say 5 extra. If you share the podcast on social media and anyway and tag us so we can see that you did, you'll get 5 extra entries into the little drawing we'll have. All the details about our social media is in the show notes of the podcast. If you are listening somewhere else besides a podcasting app where they don't have show notes or links you can click on, just go to basementbinge.podbean.com. So that's basementbinge.podbean.com. And click on the Guardians of the Galaxy. It will have the link to the survey and our social media for some extra entries. So now on to the actual show. Let's continue.
Let's do this.
Have a lot of fun. First segment coming up right here, 2 cents. These are 2 minutes where we just get to talk about the movie, our reactions to it, and fire away, Kate. I'll go first.
All right.
Okay, so reaction to the movie. I really, really enjoyed this movie. I've been watching a lot of movies in my quarantine recently. Side note, one movie that I would recommend watching if you want to enjoy how bad it is Abduction with Taylor Lautner. It's got a 5% on Rotten Tomatoes. Probably deserves like a 3%. It's awful. But it's like so bad it's enjoyable. It's horrible.
Is the official rating 5%?
5%, yeah.
That's the worst I've ever heard.
Yeah, so coming to this movie was way better. You know, having a movie that's got action that's well paced, that is way easier to follow, emotion that like actually carries through, like Rocket struggling to find himself, Quill struggling to figure out himself and his relationship with his father, which I'll get more into following. Like, you know, going back to Abduction, like that has emotion of like trying to find yourself that just doesn't carry at all. Where like this movie is balancing so many things. It starts with like a squid that shoots rainbows, like fire rainbows. That's how the movie starts, and with something so ridiculous, it still carries the emotion of trying to find yourself super well, while still having like great music, really great comedy, really good action, really good pacing. Like everything about it is just quality in carrying that emotion throughout the whole movie while you're enjoying everything else, and it doesn't get lost. You don't get lost in the movie. It's really good pacing. I was just impressed with that. That really stood out to me because very similar message of trying to find yourself, and Abduction just drops the ball. It tries so hard and fails in the emotion. It fails in the action, where this movie succeeds in carrying the emotion. It succeeds in great action and great visuals, great storytelling, great pacing, acting, music, CGI effects. Everything's really top notch about this movie. Like, I really have a hard time like having a complaint with anything about watching this movie. So yeah, I'm excited to get into the details. There's a lot of just like references to Marvel comics that I totally went over my head that makes me want to know more. And it's just enjoyable. It really is just so fun. I'm probably going to be saying that a lot.
This is so fun.
It's just so
I'm so great. It's so fun. All right, here's my 2 cents. So this movie, I'll give you a little small background. So for my quarantine with me and my wife, most of the time we've been watching a lot of movies together, just a lot of fun here in the house of what we can do. Individual time, I've just been playing a lot of video games, and video games can be fun to a point, and this movie helped me just it's a change of pace. One because it's a quality movie that I really enjoy myself. That is one thing I noticed this time that I wanted to point out is that there's action, there's a story, there's a twist within the whole movie, and then there's points where it's kind of like a silent moment to where it's just showing a scene where it's just transitioning as far as dialogue and whatnot. Like, for example, when Gamora storms outside and sits outside waiting, trying to get a hold of Rocket, that scene right there, it's like it's got so many colors in there. And it's so cool. It's just really cool. It's fun. It's satisfying to watch. It is satisfying to watch that scene. So you're still invested in the movie, but it's able to transition from story to story, and from plot to plot, and from each action scene. And so this movie you enjoy watching the movie. Just you don't have to laugh at all the jokes or be invested in it all. It's just fun to watch. Yeah. It's a satisfying movie, and so because a lot of the story arcs are all tied together, and they're a lot of them are completed in some points that were left out in the first movie, and so it's a satisfying movie, and that's what I'm trying to get to because I remember all the jokes and stuff, but now that watching this time, I remember all of this everything else other than the jokes, and it's still a solid movie.
Yeah. I really like what you said. That watching it, there was just like a feeling of satisfaction that it brought, whether that was visually or with like the arcs being completed, or I don't know what it was, but like, Kate and I were talking about how any person I've ran into besides my wife, anywhere outside of the quarantine, even over the phone, it's like, oh, how are you dealing with the virus? And it's always about the virus, and like, there's a lot of like fear inside my head because of that. And so it was really nice to be able to like put my mind somewhere else and just enjoy like the satisfactory that comes from something besides the coronavirus.
Yeah, because whenever there's like a big thing, there's like a natural disaster, or as far as just something that's going on that everybody kind of defaults to talking about, what's going on right now is that it's everyone. It's not something slightly different or something's going on. Oh, you heard about this? It's a more of how are you been dealing with this whole thing. So being able to talk about something else or watch something that has nothing to do with it gives you a satisfaction, and I love that. I love this movie, and so I enjoyed it. I enjoyed this movie on a different level than I knew how to. If that makes sense.
Yeah, definitely agree.
But
those are 2 cents.
2 cents is done. Moving on to pick your poison. This is where this is your choice. It comes down to what you want, what your preference is. If you would watch this and you honestly don't really care about it, wouldn't watch it again, or you'd wait for a streaming service, or you would rent it, and all the way to you'd buy it yourself. 4 choices. 2 of us. Let's do this.
All right.
I would buy this, but I think one thing I want to mention is that I'd buy it in multiple ways. Say I buy it in Blu-ray, I buy it in DVD, because there's multiple ways to get in order to buy this movie. And so backstory: my wife and I have a Blu-ray player, and for some reason it's like sketchy with Blu-ray. It's like 7 times out of 10 it'll work, but then like for some reason it just won't read the disc whatsoever. So there's some movies that I've wanted to watch sometimes, and it's like, no, it just won't work. So we've got a whole mix of DVD and Blu-rays, even though Blu-ray's kind of like the thing now. I don't know, DVDs kind of just seems headstrong with this whole media stuff. Anyway, so I would buy this to ensure that I buy it for Blu-ray and for DVD and even digital, just so I can watch it whenever I want, because this movie is just fun everywhere you go. Yeah. There's my poison.
My pick your poison. I would also buy this movie. when I was buying the Marvel movies, this was one of the first ones that I bought, but I specifically waited and saved up my money to buy the 4K version of it. I don't have a 4K TV. I plan to get one day, but I was like, one day when I have that TV, I want to enjoy all of the visuals of this movie to the maximum potential.
I'm so curious of how it's gonna feel like watching in 4K because I've never done it either.
Me neither. I'm like, total side note, I'm looking forward to that one day where I like deck out a theater in my house with like a super nice 4K TV and really good like 7.1 surround sound and sit down and I have a list of like 10 movies and I'm going to watch in order just to like enjoy that experience. And this is one of them. But
I'm really curious what that list is.
I'll tweet it or something. I got to find it in my phone. But yeah, this is a while ago. I think it was way back with Interstellar. Or maybe it wasn't. I think it was Interstellar that we said like even a step above buying the movie is giving it to somebody else.
Yeah, buying it for somebody.
This I wouldn't say is quite there, but I'd say it's kind of in between the two. Like I'd buy this for select people, not just Marvel people, but like, I wouldn't give this to my parents, but I'd give this to like my brother, for example, or my sister or something. Yeah, it's a movie that like I can trust in the quality of, and I agree with Cade said. Like I have this downloaded on my phone, and if I got 30 minutes on my lunch break, I'm like, oh yeah, let's watch part of Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. So I love it. So should we reveal our rankings? I gotta find
our
where mine
rankings.
is.
Here we go. We have been side note. We have been doing these rankings for the past 8 months.
I think so. It's been a while.
It's for a while.
We're nearing the end too. Like I'm very looking forward to that episode that is 100% devoted to just
readjusting,
re-ranking.
Because we've talked about these rankings. This is kind of like the hole in the donut that we want to fill once all this is over with the Marvel movies. And I love every time we go back to rank because everybody loves ranking stuff. So
yeah,
let's do this.
That episode, which was like our third or I think it was our fourth episode where we ranked all of them before watching them. That was so fun. I'm excited to do it, like having thoughts.
Part of me thinks, well, what if I had thought of like, what if when we do that ranking is that we go live on Instagram?
That'd be cool.
That would be pretty cool. Because, I mean, getting people that come in on, give their take about what their rankings are of the movies, that'd be pretty fun.
Yeah, tweet at us, Instagram us, DM us, let us know in some way, one of the many forms of context, if that's something you guys would watch. We got a few, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 more Marvel movies before we get to that. So anyway, let us know if that's something you'd enjoy. So, Cade, what is your ranking of the Guardians of the Galaxy, all of the Infinity Saga?
Phase 3, Guardians of the Galaxy, out of 11 movies of this phrase, I rank it at 7. It's kind of in the middle, but a little below because I have a lot of favorites. And I feel like with these rankings within this phase, because it's, in my opinion, the best phase of the 3, I have these favorites that I have that are about 3 or 4, and then the rest of them, it's like, I don't know, those are so interchangeable. Yeah. And so we'll have to see how at the end of this, when we rank everything, of where that will fit, because this movie is solid.
Yeah. So my ranking in the phase out of 11 is 6. So 1 higher than yours, which is almost like dead even in the middle. And I'm looking at my list here. I really want this to go up, but I'm looking at my top 5 in the phase, and I can only really see one.
What's your top 5?
So top 5 is number 1, Homecoming, Ant-Man and the Wasp, Avengers Endgame, Thor Ragnarok, Spider-Man Far From Home. The only one that I think maybe will move, the 2 of them, is either Ant-Man and the Wasp or Spider-Man Far From Home. Mm-hmm. Those are the only 2 that I think are going to move down. Maybe. We haven't watched any of those yet, but I agree with you. Phase 3 is hard to determine.
It's really hard because they all kind of smash together. They're all just good quality. For me, my top 5 are Endgame, Black Panther, Infinity War, Ragnarok, and Doctor Strange at 5, and then Ant-Man, and then Guardian, or Ant-Man and the Wasp, and then Guardians of the Galaxy. It's just, I think of them each on an individual level, and it's like, I don't know how to move them.
Yeah, I don't know where to give and take.
This ranking at the very end may be epic fail, like nothing changes whatsoever. Exactly the same, but we'll see. I feel like I do want to change a couple of things. But
yeah. So in the whole saga, in the whole Infinity Saga, out of 23 movies, I have Guardians of the Galaxy at 11. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 at 11. So again, very like middle of the pack, which in my mind, I always thought it would be higher. Like I love this movie, but again, looking at what's above it, I'm like, it makes sense. Like this is a middle of the pack movie in my mind about the MCU because there's so many, and that doesn't mean it's bad. Like
Just
That's middle of the pack of a lot of good movies.
There's favorites, yeah. Mine's at 12 from before, so it's pretty close. And for the help of everybody, I kind of wish Kelton was here because he ranked his at 17, more on the close to the bottom. So I really want to. I wish we could call him.
Oh my gosh. Okay, he's got. This just bothers me. The one he's got below that is Spider-Man: Homecoming. What the heck is his problem? That's the best one.
And I know he's a big Ant-Man and a Wasp fan, but he has his at Ant-Man and the Wasp at 15, and we have that ranked pretty high. So
Yeah, man. What the heck?
This is a bad
Kelton?
timing, Kelton, for you to not be here because
We're just gonna rip you apart. I mean, he put this at 9. He put this at the bottom of the whole phase.
The whole phase he put at the bottom.
Well, Spider-Man: Homecoming right below it, which I got serious beat.
He's got both Spider-Mans at the bottom. I don't know. Maybe he's just one of those. Oh, who are the other actors? So he's maybe a Tobey Maguire fan or something like that. Because we grew up. I can see him arguing that he grew up with that. But it's Tom Holland, bro. Come on, man.
Subscribe to find out if Kellen can defend himself.
Oh
man, wow! Looking at these rankings just makes me want to get to that episode.
I forgot, we made an average for all three of us.
Oh, we did?
It's at
Oh my god!
14 for Guardians of the Galaxy 2.
The whole phase or the whole saga?
Yeah, the whole saga.
14. Man, Kellen's bring us down. Man, I'm so excited to review these. Well, if we don't move on to the next segment, which is binge points, I'm gonna get stuck on this and never. Binge points. Okay, I got a few that I'll just kind of rattle off here. First, the music in this movie is amazing, and I'm not just talking about like all the classic rock movies.
I feel bad forgetting about the soundtrack because it's good.
Yeah, it's a good soundtrack. Not only that, but also Tyler Bates' score. His is good, and like having to live up to all those classic rock songs would be hard. And like, you definitely don't notice it as much because it's obviously not as apparent. But like when you do notice it, it's good. The music from the classic rock to the score is like it just really fits the mood perfectly.
I don't ever notice a transition between the music and the songs.
It flows so well, and like I forget what it's called, but the lyrics are like, "If you never love me now, you'll never love me again," or something like that. It's like Quill walks away from Rocket. It's just like things like that just fit so well. That was a cool one. I also like how like this movie really shows off how strong Gamora is physically. Like
it doesn't pay attention much in the first one. How like her physical strength is actually pretty impressive. Like this one, she had was there multiple
gun from like a.
It was a huge gun
from a
spaceship.
Yeah, that was another one. The other one is when Ego is telling his story for the first time to everybody as they all come home. You can see Mantis in the background. She's like super timid and like fearful, knowing the truth.
Knowing it all.
Yeah,
I didn't catch that.
The actress of Mantis, her and I don't know her name sadly, but her and Dave Bautista who play Drax, the two of them together are just hilarious to me. So but not just like not just humorly, like they play the emotion of those characters very, very well. Mm-hmm. So those are kind of my. Oh, this is the last one, and if I see another tweet about this, I'm gonna I don't know, I'm gonna rage. I'm never gonna go on Twitter again. I've seen so many people complain. So the effect when Quill has the starry effect in his eyes, and he's like going along with Ego, and then Ego's like, "Oh, and it pained me to put a tumor in your mother's head," and then does like the vertigo effect, like the zoom thing on him, where the background distorts. I've seen a lot of people praise it, which is sweet. It definitely is a cool camera move. It's one of my favorites.
That scene specifically.
It's perfect use of the vertigo effect, which is kind of originated in Jaws. But anyway, I've seen so many people. So someone tweets is like, "Oh, this is a really cool effect. It fits the emotion really well." And they're praising the filmmakers. Good for them. And then all the comments are like, "Yeah, they did that on a green screen," and it's just like, which is true. Like the background is a green screen, but like they also did it with the lens. You can see the change in lens distortion on Chris Pratt's face, but it's like, who cares if they did it on a green screen or not? Like it is a filming effect that they use as the tools of a filmmaker to use an effect to portray an emotion, and it fits perfectly. Who cares if it was with a lens or a green screen? Like it's the same, and it's just like, stop complaining about it. They use the effect in the right way. It's just
part of me thinks that those kind of people are like, they watch a movie for entertainment rather than me, because we watch a movie more than just entertainment. It's more of like analyzing appreciation, entertainment, and just understanding filmmaking. And also emotion. It's we watch movies more than just for entertainment. And I feel like a lot of people that point that out, oh, it's just a green screen, because either they're a really big movie buffs and they don't really enjoy any sort of use of the green screen, or they just don't know. I just don't understand to like 100% of like how much that like that doesn't take away from the actual.
Like the effect worked the same. Like
Yeah, I still felt it.
yeah, I don't know. I just if I see one more person complain about that, I'm gonna rage. It just drives me nuts. Like it's like
Go comment something.
yeah, I'm gonna comment back in all caps with exclamation points at the end.
No, send it.
Yeah, those are my binge points there.
Binge points. I just want to point out the story arc of Gamora. Like, here's a little story. I'm like the guy in this podcast that does story time.
Story time.
Have some like yeah, that's right. But so my wife and I watched Endgame recently, and it shows and Gamora in that movie is very different than this one, and it's like dang, like Gamora really grew up and matured, and just kind of was just, or maybe she didn't really grow up and mature. It's just more she became vulnerable and it just expressed who she was deep down. So Gamora, I just want to point out Gamora, like how she is. When they talked about, I don't know, I don't want to spoil Endgame. I mean, it's been out for so long.
If you haven't seen Endgame, why are you listening to this podcast?
It's a movie. It's a Marvel movie. Like I think you should know.
Go ahead. It's okay.
All right, so
Skip ahead like a minute.
Gamora dies, and it's the different Gamora it's the Gamora from 2012, and she's like heartless and deep. She's hiding the fact that she wants to overthrow Thanos, but then she looks at Quill and like totally racks him and like knocks him down. Like she's completely disgusted, and then Nebula comes over, and he's like, it was between him or a tree, and it's like hilarious comment, appreciation to that, but like there's so much behind Quill that
Yeah, she wasn't choosing between
between a tree and Quill. It's more of like she understood who Quill was and who she was, but not to take away from that hilarious moment, but like Gamora is really, she sold our hearts in this movie so that they would break in Infinity War.
Yeah, that's true. Well said.
And that's just good writing.
Yeah, it really is. So good producing too. Like holy smokes.
Yeah.
I agree with you. I like both in two ways. I love Gamora and Nebula's arc. Who knew that they would be so like forefront in the MCU? I mean, like definitely not like Iron Man, but like they're really up there, especially in Infinity War and Endgame in two different ways. Like Infinity War, my heart is broken for Gamora, and in Endgame, my heart goes out to Nebula, and like just two totally different ways that like these characters that came out of nowhere. Like who knew that they would mean so much to me later? And that I agree with you. Good writing. Yeah.
To them than a lot of others. Like I feel like if I want to rank my emotional connections with each character, it'd be Tony Stark, Hawkeye, Nebula, and possibly Gamora, and then you got Pepper Potts and Spider-Man or Peter Parker. But like everybody else, it's just kind of like they're solid characters, but it's a connection because it's like kind of like a sisterhood that you've seen grow from like pure hatred to like pure sisterhood. So
yeah, it's amazing. And congrats to Carrie and Jillian and Zoe Saldana. I think that's how you say her last name. Forgive me if I mispronounce it. They play the roles so well. Not even this movie, like especially in Infinity War and Endgame. I'm blown away by Carrie and Jillian. Like you watch her in this movie, and then you watch her in Jumanji. That's serious range.
oh yeah,
And she's hilarious in Jumanji.
she's so good. We watched the Next Level yesterday.
Oh, it's a funny movie. I recommend if you're in need of some binging movies during your quarantine, I recommend watch the Jumanji movies. The new one with The Rock. They're so fun.
They're so good. Like the first one's a massive classic. The second one, I have watched that. I think I've watched that movie 3 times now, and I have the hardest time remembering all of the funny comments and banter they have because it's just so funny, and there are so many.
Yeah, those are good movies.
Solid movies.
Okay.
I should probably go on like a tangent just about the Jumanji movies because those are fun to watch. But that's all the binge points I have.
Yeah, I don't have any more.
Okay, so least your least favorite and most favorite. Right here. This is a segment. This is supposedly supposed to be the favorite, the favorite segment, but there's another one that we'll go into later that we all know about. But this one is about that favorite scene that just gets you. We'll start with the least favorite, though. Okay. I'll start. My least favorite. I think it's the beginning scene. I think that's my least favorite, where that interdimensional monster, monkey / octopus / rainbow shooting monster with jaw like shark teeth, and I don't know. It's got a tail, but it's an octopus looking thing. It's so weird. Like, that monster thing was just weird and stuff, but it was, I don't know. I think it was just a praise for like just seeing Baby Groot dance around and stuff, and the music, and the fight itself was just like, the Guardians could not do anything whatsoever. And if there was not a scar on that monster, they would have been doomed. It's like screwed over, and it was just kind of like this jump in to get back into the banter and funniness of Guardians of the Galaxy. But I don't know. When I first watched it, I was like, "Oh, this is good." But I think the longevity of that scene of watching it multiple times, it's kind of like it's lost its luster. Yeah. At least for me. I don't know how you feel.
I would agree with you there. Like, I enjoyed it. Like, to say it's my least favorite in this movie is like to say how good this movie is. That I would have to pick that, because I enjoy that scene, but I agree with you. Rewatching it, it kind of like it's like, all right, like let's get on with it. Like it's fun, especially the first time. It's like up there among one of the best scenes. But the
intro,
great intro. Like it is a good scene that I enjoy. But of how much I enjoy this movie, I enjoy that part the least.
Mm-hmm. Like, I think the scene was good enough to, what's the word for it? Like, bring out the title. Yeah. Well, you had a term for it last time. Title card. It was a good way to make the title card, because the first Guardians of the Galaxy, the first one, that title card, that whole scene is just gold, all the way around. It's so good. But this one, it's kind of just, they paid tribute to trying to match that title card, and I think they made just a scene just for that. Maybe that's why I don't like it as much.
Yeah. So what's your favorite?
Oh, man. I gotta think. I'll have to hear your least favorite first.
Oh, my least favorite is 10. So, same as you.
Oh, it's the same. Okay. All right. Oh, my. Oh, favorite. I don't know. There was a moment with Rocket. I do love... So, it's when Yondu and Rocket team up, and they get out of the cell. That whole thing is so good. I think that might be my favorite scene. But on an emotional level, when Yondu is his funeral, that's amazing.
Oh yeah.
Oh my gosh, such a good scene. But I love that the banter back and forth between Rocket and Yondu. It's so good, and it hits home. It's relatable, and
yeah.
I just love how like similar they are. It's super good.
Yeah, man, this is funny. I would say my honorable mention is when they're in prison and they break out with the help of Groot. Uh-huh. And then like the arrow flying scene. That scene's just fun. But emotionally, I would say is either the scene where Yondu yells at Rocket, he's like, "I'm you." You know that scene where like right before they land on Ego? Yeah. And then Rocket, like from the scene where Yondu like scoops up Quill and flies up into space and says, "He may have been your father, but he wasn't your daddy." Like that scene all the way to the funeral is my all-time favorite of this movie. It's so good. And the other one is just a section. "I'm Mary Poppins, y'all." Like I love that line.
Oh,
I love Yondu.
Every time I hear that.
I love Yondu so much. So yeah, I think we share the same least and likes.
Yeah.
So should we kind of move in then to the emotion of the film? Fall in. This is our last segment where, kind of like Cade was saying, we move past just watching a movie for entertainment. We analyze, we talk about the emotion, try and become better people because of it, as cheesy as that sounds. But it's serious. Like, they're really repeatedly, especially Doctor Strange, that conversation that three of us had when Kelton was still present. We miss you. But that was like a really powerful conversation for something that I was going through in my life. So I really enjoy these conversations because, like, this is the way that I really enjoy movies, is taking a bigger picture of the emotion and kind of applying it to myself and analyzing it. But that can get pretty lonely, and I love being able to talk to people about it. So hopefully you guys enjoy listening to it. So Fall In. Yeah, this is last segment.
This is a good one. I have something that's been on my mind for this particular movie, and it was a small moment. It's a small frame. Maybe it's a couple of frames, but it's the point where they save the Sovereign from this weird, creepy, icky monkey octopus thing, and walking away, and Rocket stole the batteries. They're leaving, and they're kind of having a little bit of like argument on their ship, and they're getting fired at by a fleet of Sovereign. And there's a point where they get stuck, and they end up like everyone they all like they get through that cosmic astral field.
Quantum astral field?
Is it quantum astral field?
I don't know, some astral field.
Yeah, and they're like fighting over the ship, and then the fleet flies around it, and they're all getting shot at. And there's a moment where, as they're getting shot at, where Rocket just snaps his head around and looks right at Quill and has this look on his face of like, holy crap, what did I just do? And throughout this whole time that I've known Rocket, it's super quick. And then it's just like that. The face that he has is like, yeah, he realizes like, what have I done? Because before this, he was like, I have nothing to lose. I only have Groot as a friend. All he cares about is Groot, right? And like there's the whole point when Groot sacrifices himself, and Rocket's emotionally unstable when that happens. And then you come to this point, right? He kind of like, I just do everything for myself. Like he's a selfish guy. He doesn't care. He's just very insensitive and just ignorant. And then you see him like that point where they're like, it looks inevitable that they will lose, and he just turns to Quill. And I think that whole point where he turns and looks at Quill is just like, holy crap, I have something to lose here. And I feel like I've been in that moment where I get in a weird mood or in a weird phase, or something happens where I kind of forget about myself or what's important to me, or like what I really, really care about. And I focus on something that's like super just not, it's either not good for me, or it's just a materialistic thing, or something that's just selfish. And then everything blows up in my face, and I like realize, like the moment of realization where, shoot, I don't want to lose, so and so, or this and this and this. And that moment, it's such a, I'm like dissecting this scene, but like it's that turn of him looking like I felt that. Yeah. This time it was realizing like, holy crap, like we all make mistakes, these big mistakes. We're like, what was I thinking? Like looking back on it, you kind of shake your head at yourself. We're like, why did I do that? And Rocket had that moment. And I feel like that's why Rocket is so relatable in so many ways, because his story arc just goes all over the place. And I just felt that frame. It's like, I know what that feels like.
Yeah. I love Rocket's arc, and I agree with you that there's so many parts of it. Like at the very end when they're not celebrating, but they're having Yondu's funeral and all the other Ravagers show up, and Rocket says he didn't chase them away even though he was always mean. And like I feel like that's a very similar realization where like Rocket going through what he does with Yondu kind of relates and understands that like what he truly doesn't want to lose is these people who care about him. And like it was a realization that people can still be there for you if you ultimately choose to do. I think it's kind of the other side. Let me backtrack. So you were saying that like that first realization where he turns is like, oh crap, I made a huge mistake. I have something to lose. Yeah. And I think later during Yondu's funeral, it's the other side of the coin where he says, I made a mistake. I do have things to lose, but these people are still here for me if I choose to make the right decision. And I think it's two realizations that are very, very connected that you have within a short span of each other, that you realize you did something wrong and that there's a lot to lose, but you realize that you have the choice to make the right decision and the people that will still be there for you, even though you could have lost them having chosen to continue with the wrong decision. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah, I totally get it.
So I love Rocket's arc. Another part of it that I really like, that I don't necessarily relate with the same way that I do with what you just said, which I didn't notice at all until you just brought it up, which like I really relate to, which is cool. Makes me appreciate it even more. Yeah. So I'm glad you pointed that out. But the other one that I notice a lot is how Rocket is really like a story of like unacceptance. Like he doesn't accept himself, and like almost like the grief or rudeness that goes with that. There's this super, super good article about James Gunn that he was interviewed. I don't want to say the wrong place, but so when he was fired, so he was fired by Disney because of his tweets, and he wasn't going to be able to make Guardians of the Galaxy 3, and then he got hired by Warner Brothers to make Suicide Squad, and then he got rehired by Disney. after he was rehired, he goes and has this interview. I will link it. I actually found the link this time, so I'll link it. I mentioned it before and didn't, but I will this time. It is an amazing interview to like listen to someone who goes through something so troubling as that. And I love anyway, so like reading that, he talks a lot about Rocket and how he sees himself in Rocket. And I think kind of understanding James Gunn, knowing what he went through, I think that he really, whether he had a bad upbringing or whatever reason, like he really didn't accept himself, and I think that led him to be like rude and really outspoken. That's why he tweeted the things he did, which like I love James Gunn, I forgive him, but like those tweets were bad. Like I understand why Disney kind of reacted that way. Like those are horrible things that he said, but I think they reacted too much. Anyway, I'm getting off track here. And I think he's very much like Rocket's a jerk. Like, yeah. I mean, Peter Quill isn't better by much, but like Rocket is rude, and I think that a lot of people can be that same way. That we really realize like how broken we are on the inside. So the second people start to care about us, we push them away with rudeness. And like there's those people say it all the time. We put up our walls, and I think Rocket has to learn to let people pass those walls and like learn to care about them. And I think that's a process of learning the two sides of the coin that we learned. But anyway, to focus on the positive part, the last question of that interview, the interview asked James Gunn, he says, from one who has come out of the other side, what do you make most of the current industry climate in which behaviors are being exposed and people often banished? So he's saying like, in the current Hollywood climate, and especially at the time James Gunn was firing, there was a lot happening where like people's past behaviors would be exposed and then they would have a negative consequence, like banished. Mm-hmm. And I love what James Gunn said. He said, there's a lot of really positive stuff that's going on out of all this. And one of the positives is that I was able to learn. People have to be able to learn from their mistakes. If we take away the possibility for someone to learn and become a better person, I'm not sure what we have left. I've learned all kinds of things about myself through this process. Mm-hmm. And I love that Disney rehired him, because at one point or another, like you said, each one of us is going to make a mistake, like a big one, no matter what it is. And we will realize I could lose a lot. And hopefully we choose to do the better thing. But if everyone else in the world says you made this one mistake, you have no chance anymore. If they don't give people the realization that Rocket had later and they just cut you off, like what? Where does it end? Like James Gunn isn't the only one who's going to suffer that consequence. I'm going to. Everything important to me is going to be cut off because of past mistakes if I'm not given an opportunity to be better. And I love seeing the way that Rocket experiences that, especially with what you pointed out. I never noticed that before, and like that just adds such a huge another. Wow.
Adds another layer to Rocket.
Yeah, it does.
And all right, do you have anything else to say? Okay, so I had a thought just thinking about this. Out of this 2 hour and 15-minute movie of this one freeze frame of Rocket spinning his head over to someone he was teasing about, bullied, and just insulting, practically, it turns over as the point where he actually cared, and maybe looking toward him to like, what should I do? What should we do? It's the moment where like, oh crap, I have something to lose here. I think that's evidence that there's always good in this world. Is that it doesn't matter, and I'm not saying that everyone is a horrible person and that everyone's hiding behind this rude face, but what I'm saying is that when bad things do happen, you turn toward something that you care about, or you turn toward, you realize whether you act calmly, whether you act in anger or retaliation or fear or just straight panic. In your head, it's for a good reason. It's for the better good. Like, for example, the fact that people are buying, estimatedly a year's worth of supply of toilet paper is that they want to survive. They want to make sure that they get through this. Yeah. And for me and my wife, that we bought a couple of extra cans of food just so that we're in stock, and just to take a precaution, because we don't want to lose what good that we have. And that's evidence that, to me, Rocket in this movie shows that you make a mistake, it helps you realize that I have something good to lose. Something in my life is what helps me feel better about myself and is good. And I think everyone doesn't need to go through a horrible experience to see that they have this good in their life. And knowing that good, it kind of sits in the center of your life where you have all these good things and you can be able to deal with other stuff. Like knowing that I have my wife and that she loves me and cares for me, I can deal with really crappy days and struggles because I can turn to her for help, or just the fact that she's just here and she's around, so I can feel better about my confidence about who I am and about pretty much everything. And so in the light of Rocket, in the light of Rocket and what's going on right now with this whole shutdown, is that you don't need a bad thing to help you remember that there's something good in your life. You can remind yourself, but just thinking about what's important to you. And it gives life meaning, it makes life fun when you have good things in your life.
Yeah, well, I was kind of putting down my notes after we watched this movie, and I wrote the phrase that this is a story about finding identity, about everybody finding their own individual identity. And I kind of like put that to the side. I was like, oh, never mind. Kate's talking about this other thing that doesn't apply anymore. And then the more you talked, I was like, well, that's actually true. And I think, because I was going to talk about how like finding identity isn't something that you really can do alone. And I think like what you're saying is, because I agree with everything you said, I just saying like another part of that is you identify yourself with the people you have around you. Like you definitely can on your own to some extent, but I think a huge part of it with Rocket, with Quill, Nebula, Gamora, and even Drax, but I think kind of before this movie, you kind of see the result of Drax learning that, is that the people around you are a huge part of your identity if you allow them to be. And that identity, that understanding of having people there, like Kate is saying, kind of allows you to go through a lot worse and be okay on the other side. Where Rocket, who was alone and felt so alone for so long, kind of turned into a jerk.
Okay, there's another moment where it's Mantis and Drax. They're sitting on the steps, and Drax brings up like his past history with what he's gone through, and Mantis like touches him how she does to feel feelings for other people, and she feels incredibly sad in the moment. And then you look at Drax. I remember that scene. I looked straight at Drax, just watched what he did, and he's kind of just like solemn, like, yeah, I feel this, but I don't feel this all. I am who I am, but like I've experienced this horrible thing, but I am not so focused on it. Like I have other stuff. I can be a good person and happy despite of that. Because he laughs the most in this movie. He's an idiot, but like he has this like really tragic history, and Mantis just feels all this sadness within him, but he expresses a lot of happiness in this movie. Yeah. You know, that's just another example of it, of like what you can do. How do you react to that horrible thing? But
I think a big part of why Drax is able to be so happy is actually, I take that back. You see it kind of change in Guardians of the Galaxy 1. Is he goes from someone who was like really independent and focused on killing Thanos to like someone who accepted other people in his life. And I think he goes through the process a lot faster than Rocket does, where Rocket goes through a different thing and has a tragic backstory and feels alone and changes into accepting people, letting them past his walls. And that identity allows both of them to feel a lot more joy, which I think is kind of what we were talking about. Is like you realize that you can lose things that are such a huge part of you that you don't want to. And that's a really scary feeling.
It's scary.
But you can choose to do the good things that allow you to keep the happiness like Drax does. There's a lot of cool messages in this that like all connect a ton, but also are like so individual and important. Mm-hmm. But they all, again, just connect in an amazing way.
Oh yeah,
I really love this movie.
It's got a lot of needed messages.
Yeah.
Especially for like just media as a whole, rather than just like as in Marvel, but just in media as a whole, like these messages need to be seen and shown.
And I think James Gunn is a perfect individual to do that because he has changed so much in his life.
Yeah.
Like if you just look at the type of person he was, maybe that's kind of judgmental to say, like, look at who he was on social media and the types of movies and jokes that he made and like what he's done now. Like he's gone through that growth process and become a better person. And I remember, I wish I could pull it up, where he was, maybe I'm going to. Give me a second, give me like 2 seconds to try and find this because I don't want to butcher it because it was so amazing.
Of what James Gunn said?
Yeah.
It was a post on Instagram, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think it was. Let me try and find it when he was.
Wasn't it a picture of like Rocket and Groot?
Okay, all right, okay, everybody, I found it. So this is on his Instagram. It's a picture of like just a screenshot of his notes where he was rehired with just a heart emoji as a caption. He says, "I'm tremendously grateful to every person out there who has supported me over the past few months. I'm always learning and will continue to work at being the best human being I can be. I deeply appreciate Disney's decision, and I'm excited to continue making films that investigate the ties of love that bind us all." And then he says some other great things. But I remember that part, and I didn't want to butcher it because I love how he says, making films that investigate the ties of love that bind us all. And I think the Guardians of the Galaxy, as silly and colorful and filled with music and great jokes as they are, like they really investigate the ties of each one of us and the ties of love, which really are incredible and I think are extremely underrated. And I think James Gunn is somebody who has gone through that and experienced that sadness and the difficulty that comes along with that. And I just appreciate someone who's gone through that, making films that like, you can make like a really, really good drama film that talks about this message, but like being able to put that message in something as absurd and colorful as Guardians of the Galaxy is amazing and super enjoyable. And I love James Gunn for it. I just have a lot of praise for him because of how much he's changed. You know, you don't see that every day. Yeah. And I appreciate Disney being able to give someone a chance to change because you also don't see that every day. So there's a lot of like behind the scenes emotion that happened in the real world that affects my opinion of this movie. Yeah. Makes me love it a lot more. Mm-hmm. It's a quality movie. But thanks for pointing that out about Rocket. That that might take it up above those movies in the ranking.
Because I don't know. That was the one time I actually saw it. Cause like, holy cow! I don't know the way. Cause when us doing this podcast, I've been looking at movies differently now and noticing little details and stuff. And I'm not saying like I'm the perfect analyzer, but like I'm noticing it differently than before. Yeah. And so it's just been really fun to see different meanings and different hints and the story in a different way. I don't know. It's really cool. I'm glad I caught that.
Yeah. Me too. Well, thanks for everybody for listening during your quarantine. Sorry we've been so off and on for so long. We want to get better at posting consistently for you guys. But hopefully everybody's safe. Continue to wash your hands. Social distance is important. Flatten the curve, everybody. Also, huge thanks to Audiograph for hooking up with us and working with us the way they are. We're really excited about them. So all the details about that is in the show notes. Also, the survey for the giveaway and also our social media so you can get some extra drawings in it. It's a free movie, people. Come on, just like take 2 minutes and give yourself a chance to get a free movie of your choice.
There's always at least one movie that everyone wants to get and they just haven't gotten around to it.
Have you ever did what I did last night where you're looking for a movie to watch and it's not on any streaming service and you don't want to pay for it because it's the coronavirus? So then you get stuck watching a 5% movie on Rotten Tomatoes called Abduction and it's awful. If you want to watch a good movie and be able to watch it again and again, because you'll own it, just take a stupid survey.
Just take a survey. We'll hook you up.
It's not a stupid survey. It's a good one. And it's only a minute long. Just take the survey. Please. Don't break my heart again. Anyway, thanks for listening. Ciao, ciao.
Peace out, home dogs.